Alright, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, nahmaduhu wa salli ala rasulih al-kareem, amma ba'd, qala Allahu azza wa jalla fi kitab al-aziz, ba'd a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. كم تركوا من جنات وعيون وزروع ومقام كريم ونعمة كانوا فيها فاكهين كذلك وأورثناها قوم آخرين فما بكت عليهم السماء والأرض وما كانوا منظرين. قال عليه الصلاة والسلام: من أصبح والدنيا أكبر همه جعل الله الفقر بين عينيه وشتت عليه شمله ولم يأته من الدنيا إلا ما كتب له. ومن أصبح والآخرة أكبر همه جعل الله الغنى في قلبه وجمع له شمله وأتته الدنيا وهي راغمة، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam and fellow youngsters, it's nice to be here today. I was supposed to be here for the fast-a-thon, right, Mahmoud? And I ended up, a day before the fast-a-thon that you guys had over here, I ended up flying to New Zealand, Christchurch, for the funerals and burials of the shuhada. And I was there for a week, and that's why I missed the last event. So I was, when he told me to come to this event, I had no choice but to stay there, because my name was on the previous event. Alhamdulillah, I did the right thing at that time. Thank you for understanding that I couldn't come last time. And it's an honor to be here this time as well. One thing that we all do, all of us human beings, I think exams are coming up. And I'll make the topic, because I was given the topic, but I'll try to break it down to simplify it. One thing that we all do, every single one of us that is sitting here, we may have differences in our food taste, in our color taste, and in our car taste. I like BMWs, maybe someone likes Mercedes. We may have differences in different things. But one thing that we all do, alhamdulillah, is wake up in the morning. Is that correct? We all wake up in the morning. What's interesting is, this is not something you can Google. What's interesting is, the word waking up in the morning is called asbah. What is it called, guys? Asbah. Asbah. Subh means morning. Asbah means to wake up. If you literally take that word and do a word search of the prophetic sayings of the Prophet ﷺ about asbah, you will find amazing things. Amazing things. For example, the Prophet ﷺ said, من أصبح منكم آمنا في سربه وعافا في جسده عنده قوت يومه فكأنما حيزت له الدنيا بحذافيره. He said, any one of you that wakes up in the morning and he has these three bounties and blessings of Allah. Three. The first one, آمنا في سربه. He's in a state of peace. He or she doesn't wake up in the morning and just imagine yourself for a moment that if you're waking up in the morning in Aleppo, or in Gaza in Palestine, or in Kashmir in Pakistan, or right now in Sudan or Yemen, and you're waking up and you can hear the missiles all around you, gunshots, war around you. This is no peace. You can't even wake up in the morning. So there's places in South Africa, our friends live there, they have huge homes. And they have to come in. South Africa is not a peaceful area. Some of those areas are not peaceful. So they come in, there's a gate, there's a guard. They come into the front door, there's a gate, which is like a stainless steel aluminum gate. You open that, and there's a padlock, you open that, and there's like 3 doors to get inside your house. And when you finally get inside your house, if there's no thief or robber or someone standing with a gun there, you say, Alhamdulillah, man. Alhamdulillah, I made it here. I'm not exaggerating. So a person who wakes up in the morning and is in a state of peace, those people that went for Jum'ah that day in Christchurch, they woke up in the morning in a state of peace. They were praying Salah, they're intending to pray Salah in the state of peace. That they weren't fearing anything. Allah keep America in the same manner. Right? If we can wake up in the morning in a state of peace. Like a few weeks ago, I dressed like this, and I went into the United Airlines, and like half an hour later, the pilot told me that there's a few passengers that feel uncomfortable with you on the flight. I said, no problem. If they feel uncomfortable with me, I'll get off. I'm not going to create a ruckus over here. I feel bad for those people that have so much fear in their heart. I feel bad for their families. I think that what they should do is go skydiving and remove some of that fear. Because they shouldn't be living with so much fear. Because living with fear makes life so difficult to live. They should go like drag racing or on the track and get rid of that fear. But aminan fi sirbihi, peace, the state of peace, number one. Number two, mu'afan fi jasadihi. And they have health. They're waking up in the morning and they're not worried about a tumor in their brain, or cancer, or some sort of disease that is not curable. One of our friends that we know, and one of our scholars, I don't personally know him, but he's from the same fraternity, ulama. He's a mufti. His name is Mufti Abdul Rahman. Wakes up in the morning, he has a headache. He goes to the hospital. They diagnose that right away, right when he went to the hospital, said, you have a brain tumor, and it's reached the front of your brain. We have to perform an operation on you immediately. They're taking his body to the surgical ward. On the way there, he has a cardiac arrest. Within 24 hours, he's brain dead. Two days later, he's being buried in the graveyard in New York. 23-year-old youngster. All of a sudden. So, mu'afan fi jasadihi. Waking up in the morning, and you get up. The most emotional thing that happened to me, and I've been an emotional wreck since I came out from Christchurch, was last week I was sitting there, this youngster, Ahmad, his name was Adham, Nidal Shalash. I'm saying his name because if they see the video, his family can see. His name is Nidal. He studies in our school, MI. And for some reason, he was doing bad in his health and he was doing bad in school. He was getting bad grades. And he wasn't being open up about it, right? So then one day I come at 10:30 in the evening, I come to the school, and this kid, he's probably 15, he's not a kid, 15, 16-year-old Palestinian. This man, he's crying, he's bawling, right? And it's like he's losing breath, and he's like, everything alright. I thought someone hit him, something happened to his family. So I take him in the office, sit down with him. I have his cousin sit next to him. I said, what's going on? He said, today's my last night in the school. I only know 4 Jews, and I'm not going to be able to memorize the Quran. I have to go home. I don't want to go home. I said, so why are you going home then? He said, my brother already booked my flight for me, and I have to go home. I said, well, what's going on? Well, we can talk to your brother. And he says, and he's crying, and he said, look, the reality is that I have, I was diagnosed with an enlarged heart. Right now I went home. Every time I wake up in the morning, I can't get off my bed because I have so much pain in my spine, so much pain in my hip. Sometimes I'm sitting there looking at the Quran and I just completely black out for 4 or 5 minutes. I can't even see what's going on around me. I'm scared I might stand up, something might happen. And this has been happening for the last year. Okay? I look at him and he says, he's crying because he wants to become Hafiz. But he can't become Hafiz. Right? And we wake up in the morning, alhamdulillah, we're fine. If you woke up in the morning in a state of peace today, if you woke up in the morning in a state of health today, mu'afa fi jasadihi. The third thing, عِنْدَهُ قُوتَ يَوْمِهِ. And if you and I woke up in the morning and we had enough food for 1 day, not 2 days, how many days? 1 day. Or enough money in the bank to buy 1 meal. So we had $7 to swipe the card for Subway. We had enough money for 1 meal in 1 day. The Prophet ﷺ says, anyone who had these 3 qualities, benefits, bounties, and woke up in the morning that day, he categorizes this person فَكَأَنَّمَا حِيزَتْ لَهُ الدُّنْيَا بِحَذَافِرِهَا, as if this man or woman is the king or queen of the world. They have everything. They don't need anything else. They're the king of the world, the queen of the world. So that's asbah. So now we're talking about, we have exams coming up. All of us know that one day our life's going to end. What we're doing here right now, more than 70% of people that are working in America hate their jobs. This is the reality. More than 70% of Americans hate their jobs. They also study at universities. They finish engineering degree, and the reason for that is, studies show the reason for that is, they couldn't find a purpose greater than what they're doing. They got stuck in what they're doing. And they don't have anything outside of it. That's why Amazon and different companies are building tennis courts and gyms and swimming pools in their offices and their headquarters. And people are like, you know what, we don't want to come here to swim, we want to get our money and leave. Right? But that's why more than 70%, I was in Warren, and they're right next to, on 13 Mile in Van Dyke, there's a White Castle. Right next to that was a car wash. And some Muslim brother in our community wanted to take my opinion whether he should buy the car wash or not. And for some reason, he thought I was a good person to give an opinion about it. I said, all right, if you think so, I'll come, right? I want to know about a car wash. Just because I drive a Beamer, I know about car washes. So I said, all right, fine, let's go. So it was right after Jummah, I go, and after Jummah, I was dressed like in my khatib dress. So I go there, and I'm standing there, and this lady come from across White Castle owns that car wash. So the lady across from White Castle comes to open the door. She's opened the door, she looks, no hi, no good afternoon. You could tell she just doesn't want to be there. And she despises us, and she has every single, you could just tell by the way, there's some people, قَدْ بَلْتَ الْبَغْضَاءُ مِنْ أَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَمَا تُخْفِي صُدُورُهُمْ أَكْبَرُ. Allah says hatred is coming out of their mouth, and what they hide is actually worse than what they're saying. You could see that, right? So I was just like, man, after she left, I said, man, that lady, man, she doesn't like Muslims for sure. So that guy who was buying the car wash, he looked at me and said, yo, Sheikh, man, she hates her job. Who likes to work at White Castle? That's why she's like that. Now, it has nothing to do with you being, her being racist or anything. She just doesn't like her job. That's how she's with everybody. So why is it like that for? It starts in the morning. It all starts in the morning. Another hadith the Prophet said, if a person wakes up in the morning and his limited or her limited scope about what she's doing or what he's doing, and the Prophet gave the example of dunya. He said, if you wake up in the morning and the biggest thing on your mind is things of this dunya, the greatest thing on your mind is my job, my work, then just put this into perspective. And I'll tell all of you right now, let's think of this phone. No, I don't want no one to tell me, Mufti Sahib, you're crazy. For 1 second, think of this phone as your dunya. Can we do that for a second? Think of this phone as your dunya. Because we're young. Our dunya is that we have $1 million in our bank account right now. If you do, please meet me after this talk. I want to talk to you. Because we have some projects for you, buddy. So, if well, we're just young, all we have is our phone. So, for example, I will tell you right now. Maybe I got it right now. You have an offer for right now, eBay. You have an offer for a part I'm selling, right? So I sell things on eBay once in a while. Some parts of cars. I'm telling you my own personal. Right now, if you go on eBay, I have some things on eBay. I have a website, I sell some car parts for Beamers. So I see myself. So this is my dunya right here. I wake up in the morning. The Prophet is saying, look at yourself how you wake up in the morning. If you wake up in the morning, what dunya akbaru hamdihi, and the first thing you think of is, pull your phone out and see if you got any offers. Right? Pull your phone out and see your Facebook post. You pull your phone out, and the first thing you're doing is looking at your phone. The Prophet said, جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الْفَقْرَ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. Allah will stamp poverty between this man's eyes. He or she could be the greatest doctor in the world, but they'll be poor. They will never be able to wiggle out of that poverty. There was a doctor I know that an accountant wanted to give her information for a bank account. So the accountant got stuck out. My father had urgent care, so she was working there. So I called her. I said, hey, Dr. Brown, the accountant's asking your security questions answered. And the security question was, what's my greatest fear? What's my greatest fear? So, mind you, this is a doctor making good money. And her answer was being broke. Wallahi al-azim. I said, what? جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الْفَقْرَ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. You always fear that then. So you always think, how about if this happens? How about? You never become satisfied, never become content, because the first thing you're thinking about in the morning is that. Very limited thing. So the first thing, جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الْفَقْرَ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ وَشَتَّتْ عَلَيْهِ شَمْلَهُ. The second thing that happens to this person is, say you wake up in the morning, and on your to-do list you have 10 things. How many to-do list apps are there in the world? Numerous. I've checked. If you want to know what to-do list app to download, ask me. I've downloaded and used every single app there is. All right, and I realized the best app to use is a notebook and a pen. At the end of the day, right? I'm not sure who agrees with me, but that's what I realized. All right. So, but I still have an app for that though, to-do list. So you have this app, and you wake up in the morning, you have 15 things to do that day. How many times do days go by and those 15 things go in the overdue section? Right? They're just not getting done. And then, wow, that was so easy. I could have done that yesterday. Oh, I'll do tomorrow. Then you wake up the next morning, it's still overdue. It's still overdue. And just to show you guys, my app right here, just so that you guys understand that I'm in the same shoes, even though I'm a scholar, but we were born and brought up in this country, went to college, universities, we're eating and drinking in the same state, so we have the same problems. Don't think for 1 second a scholar comes here today, he doesn't understand my problems, he's a mufti sheikh, he must have his own issues, like he probably only prays 6 rakats a hajjat, right? Come on guys, let's be real here, we all have the same issues. So look, I don't have any problems showing you. So on my today's section, most of my stuff is overdue. Most of my stuff is overdue. Only one thing I have is today, which will be overdue by tomorrow. Alright? Allah, what happens is you wake up in the morning, the second thing that happens to a person who, for us, our dunya is our phone, who grabs their phone and the first thing they're checking is their phone stuff. The first thing was poverty. The second thing is Allah scatters their matters. So their matters never get done. An example that's given is you could take food for a chicken and you can put it in your hand and you can put it right in front of the chicken's mouth and the chicken can start eating. Or you can take that same amount of food and throw it all over the room. And now the chicken has to run around all over the room trying to get the same exact amount of food. But the chicken has to do more work now. And if you wake up in the morning and your phone is the first thing you're checking, Allah's like, psh. You're not going to get more, even though you're working so hard. That's what happens. The third thing that happens, the effect of that, وَلَا يَأْتِهِ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَا كُتِبَ لَهُ. And even though he or she is working tirelessly, so busy that we don't even have time to sit with our own parents. We're so busy having exams. Parents complain to us that, I raised my daughter or my son, and they went to high school, they got so busy with homework, they went to college, university, and they're always worried about their exams, their projects, their group projects, and then they get done and they get married, they never get to spend time with us. I see my younger brother, Abdul Aziz, he's going to med school right now. I see the same thing. You get so busy, right? It just engulfs you. But you gotta figure out a time. You can't even figure out time to put things away and then just sit in front of your mother or your father and spend time with them in spite of your occupation. And then you think for 1 second that once you graduate, things are going to get easier, they only get busier. Then you get married, then you have kids, right? So where does it start? A person who wakes up in the morning, picks up their phone first. جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الْفَقْرَ بَيْنَ عَيْنَيْهِ. Poverty is right here. وَشَتَّتْ عَلَيْهِ شَمْلًا. Their matters are scattered. وَلَا يَأْتِهِ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَا كُتِبَ لَهُ. And at the end of the day, whatever was written for them, they get. Now, what's the opposite of that? وَمَنْ أَصْبَحَ وَالْآخِرَةُ أَكْبَرُ هَمِّهِ. A man or a woman who wakes up in the morning, and the first thing they're thinking about is about shukr, about hamd, about my life after I die. What is going to be my legacy? If I never woke up this morning and I died, how would people remember me? Would people even remember me? Would people even miss me? Would you be missed if you were not here today? What have I done for the world? What have I done for my parents? What have I done for my siblings, for my community? That if I didn't wake up this morning, I am happy and content and satisfied that to a point, to a degree, I made my effort to leave a mark in the world. Ahmad bin Hanbal rahimahullah, he says, great people, they're actually appreciated and recognized on the day of their death. عُرِفْنَا بِجَنَائِزِنَا. He said, you will recognize us by looking at our janazas. Ahmad bin Hanbal, he was in the first generation. There was no Facebook, text messaging, nothing at that time. And at his funeral, there were 800,000 people present. How many people? 800,000 people present for his funeral. They all showed up for his funeral. Imam Shafi rahimahullah, they say about him that when he was living, it was an honor to be around him. We always wanted to be around Muhammad bin Idris. We always wanted to be there. And when he died, we always wanted to figure out a way to mention his stories. Mention his name in the book, right? Arabic poet says, مَا إِن مَدَحْتُ مُحَمَّدًا بِمَقَالَتِي وَلَكِنْ مُدِحَتْ مَقَالَتِي بِمُحَمَّدًا. That my speech is not increasing the praise of Rasulullah. Rather, mentioning his name in my speech is increasing the praise of my speech. You see that? If I write Muhammad's name by talking about him sallallahu in a good manner, I'm not uplifting his status. His status is already established. But by mentioning his name, my book is being blessed. My talk is being blessed. The gathering I'm in is being blessed. So these people were thinking about that. We're actually thinking about, if I died today, I was in Christchurch, and one of the things that stuck with me was people that died there, that were shaheed there, the impact that they had on people around them unintentionally. So for example, there was a person named Ata. You guys heard of Ata? He was a Palestinian youngster, 33 years old, IT person. He was also the goalkeeper of New Zealand's football team. When I was there for his janazah, there were more non-Muslims there than Muslims for his janazah. The entire New Zealand football team, his colleagues, they were sitting at his grave and just mourning and crying. And I said, subhanAllah, this man had such an impact, powerful impact on non-Muslims' lives. When Abu Bakr was leaving Mecca, and he said, forget it, I can't stay in Mecca anymore because there's too much persecution, and he was leaving. He packed his bags and he's migrating to Habasha. While he's going to Habasha, a man from Mecca who was a non-Muslim, idol worshipper, meets Abu Bakr. And he said, Abu Bakr, where are you going, man? And he says, I can't live in Mecca anymore because it's too much persecution, too much oppression, and I can't worship my Allah. That man, that non-Muslim man said to Abu Bakr, he said, Inna mithlaka la yakhruj wa la yukhraj. A person like you should never ever leave a city and should never be kicked out of a city because you're the blessing of the city. You're the cream of the crop. I come back with me and I will take care of you. You take care of your relatives. You take care of the orphan. You're charitable, you're generous, you're forgiving, you're tolerant. And these qualities are like an atab, right? Like a misk. You don't have to speak about your qualities. You don't have to tell anyone you have like musk or oud on. You just walk in, everyone realizes. This guy, the people ask you, what kind of fragrance is that? You don't have to come talk to people, oh yeah, I just wore Armani, you know. Just come in, people, oh, what kind of fragrance? They start asking you. Oh, what was that fragrance? Everyone knew. And that man brought him back to Mecca. My question to you, brothers and sisters, is, if all the Muslims at University of Michigan Dearborn decide, boycott University of Michigan Dearborn, we're not studying there anymore, would people cry? Would people miss us? But I wish these Muslims are so amazing, man. They're so generous. Every time I sit next to a Muslim in my class, they always have 2 chocolates. They give me one, they eat one. You know, simple things, honestly, simple gestures. Look, I hope this doesn't go online or anything, but is it on Facebook Live? All right, I'm not going to tell you this story, because it was about me. But that's what I want to know myself. But I was studying at Wayne State University, and honestly, my teacher told me, he said, make it a habit. If you sit in class and you look like a Muslim, like I look like like you can't get wrong with that, right? And you sit in class, you sit down, and the thing with me is I can't sit in a 2-3 hour lecture without eating like $10 worth of junk food, $5 worth of drink. I can't sit without drinking something, eating something. So I'm sitting there, and there's a person right next to me that's watching me eat my Reese. He's just looking at me. Even though he's probably not looking at me, but imagine he also likes, or she also likes that Twix or those chips, right? So what I would always do is in my backpack, I would always come to class. There was a guy named Dr. Curtis Green. He used to teach Bio 1050 at Wayne State. I hated that class, but I used to come to that class, right? I used to come to that class and I used to sit down. In my backpack, I pull my backpack out. Without exaggeration, I used to always have 3 sets of each thing I used to eat. If I had Twix, I had 3 Twixes. If I had Gatorade, I had 3 Gatorades. If I had chips, I had 3 chips. And people around me would know now. They would like, wait for me to come to that seat. And then people sitting next. And you know what it did? Did they become Muslim? I don't care. That's not the point. You know, this is true. Oh yeah, Muslims are all want to make everyone Muslim. That's not what we want to do. Well, if they accept Islam or not, that's up to them. But what we want to do is at least exemplify to them the character of the greatest man to ever walk on the face of the earth. They should know who he is. They should know what his life was about. And at the least, what I could do is do that. And you know what Imam Shafi'i, he says, amazing poem. He says, وَإِن كَثْرَتْ عُيُوبُكَ فِي الْبَرَايَا وَسَرَّكَ أَن يَكُونَ لَهَا غِطَاء تَسَتَّرْ بِالسَّخَاءِ فَكُلُّ عَيْبٍ يُغَطِّيهِ كَمَا قِيلَ السَّخَاء. He said, look, if the narrative has changed about you, and people are thinking about negative things regarding you, and I'm married, I know this works every single time. Trust me. It doesn't matter how mad your wife is. You know what? You come home and you buy like a $150 new chair for, oh, thank you so much. They forget about the negative. You give them a gift. Sometimes just a small gift, a small gesture. They forget about the negative. And don't keep on doing that because it stops working after a little while. Right? Just keep on. He says, if the narrative is bad about you, which it is the narrative bad about the Muslims right now? Generally, is it? Everyone knows it is. If the narrative is bad about you individually or as a community, he says, according to me, the only way to change a narrative is by developing one quality, which is called generosity. Be generous. He says, because generosity is a quality that can hide all evils, can change a narrative. And trust me, it does. So if you wake up in the morning, so if University of Michigan Dearborn, by next year, if I come here again and I ask this question, I would like some of you to answer and say, no, you know what? I know if I leave this university tomorrow, I'll have 20, 30 non-Muslims, professors, that will actually cry for me, or they will write me letters, they will wish me well. My father was doing his PhD in pathology at Michigan State University in cancer, and I remember I was a 7, 8-year-old kid. I vividly remember the day my father was moving out of Michigan State from Lansing. 5 minutes left, he was leaving. And they had a farewell dinner hosted by Michigan State University for my father. And professors were coming and talking about this man, how they loved him, this and that. And at that time, my father was broke. He had no money. So what was he doing for these people? You don't have to, I give example. Like when you market a Kia or a Hyundai, you got to do a lot of work. And if you ever see a Kia or a Hyundai commercial, they'll have the best athletes. They'll put on the all-star game. The guy's jumping over a Kia. They have to sell it so hard because it's a Kia, for God's sakes, right? It's a Hyundai, right? But ever see a BMW or Audi commercial? You'll never see an M3, M5, M6 commercial. You don't have to advertise it. And if you see a BMW commercial, you know what you're going to see? No words. So he's driving, and the guy with the shades, just look at his watch, right? And like 30 seconds later, the ultimate driving machine. I'm not exaggerating, that's how it works. You don't have to market it so hard. You don't have to market it. Audi, same thing. You don't have to market it so hard. We don't have to market the life of the Prophet so hard. His life is so beautiful. We don't have to go out of our way to talk about his life is so beautiful. Every aspect of his life. And beauty cannot be denied by anybody. Everyone can say this is beautiful. It's just that the people, the vessel, which is us, the vessels have become dirty. The vessels are waking up in the morning, the first thing they're doing is picking up their phone and thinking about my classes, my career, my portfolio, my resume, right? And that's why the narrative never changes. And I'll end by saying, a person who wakes up in the morning and that's on their mind, that how can I do something that when I leave this world and I meet the Prophet ﷺ and he sees me, he looks at Ruqayya or Aisha or Fatima or Abdullah or Muhammad, he looks at us and he smiles. He says, I'm so proud of you. You know how a father looks at your report card and he smiles? That's exactly, you know what, make it realistic. This is true. I think about this all the time. This is real. We will stand in front of Allah one day. And inshallah, we will see the Prophet one day. And it's just about when he sees us, will he be proud of us? Or will he say, suhqan suhqa? Get him away from me. It was so easy. How'd you mess up? Right? When I first went to an Islamic university to get my degree in Alim and Mufti program, my teacher said to me, you have to try really, 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 really hard to fail. He didn't say the opposite. He said you have to try really hard to fail because that's how deen is. You really have to try really, 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 really hard to mess up because Allah always forgives. Right? There's always a mechanism of cleansing of your sins. So you have to really try hard at that point. So a person wakes up in the morning and that's on their mind. 3 things happen. جَعَلَ اللَّهُ الْغِنَىٰ فِي قَلْبِهِ. He or she wakes up and they never feel like they need anything. they're always happy. They're always content. Al-qana'atu kanzun la yafna. Qana'a, contentment, is a treasure that's inexhaustible. You just feel so good. Sahaba are people, يَحْسَبُهُمُ الْجَاهِلُ أَغْنِيَاءَ مِنَ التَّعَفُّفِ. These people they used to wear unstitched clothes because to stitch clothes is more expensive. They'll just buy unstitched clothes and cover their body with it. But in spite of that, if a stranger came into the city and saw them, they would think that they're rich. That's how they carried themselves. That's how content they were, right? So the first thing is Allah puts this richness. The modern day poverty is in the midst of luxury, we're still poor. In the midst of affluence, we're still unhappy. That's modern day poverty for you, in a nutshell, right? So the first thing is Allah puts richness in the man or woman's heart. The second thing, جَمَعَ لَهُ شَمْلَهُ. He puts all that food in one hand for you, and the chicken just eats from one hand now. He doesn't scatter all your affairs. Now nothing goes in the overdue section. Everything's being done the same day, and you have time for more. You've done everything, and you still can do more. So now you can spend more time with your parents. Now you can spend more time in the masjid. Now you can spend more time in the halaqas. Because you have, when you wake up in the morning, your mind is different now. It's all about the approach. And the third thing is, وَأَتَتْهُ الدُّنْيَا وَهِيَ رَاغِمَةٌ. And dunya, the thing that you were chasing earlier, now that thing chases you. You don't even know it, it's chasing you. Everywhere you go, Allah is just blessing you with so much. And I end by saying this, Bilal, radiallahu anhu, one of the most famous Sahaba, people towards the end of his life, he was like the legend of the time. Because imagine Muhammad Ali or MJ walks in right now, rahimahullah Ali. I mean, this man put his work in, he did everything. So if Muhammad Ali walks in, he's the greatest celebrity. You don't have to say anything about him, he doesn't have to do anything else. Bilal was the greatest celebrity of that time. Any gathering he used to walk into, oh, that's Bilal, the Mu'adh of the Prophet, and they used to praise him in front of his face. And when he used to hear all this, he used to say, he said, إِنَّمَا أَنَا عَبْدٌ حَبَشِيٌّ كُنْتُ بِالْأَمْسِ عَبْدٌ حَبَشِيٌّ. He says, I'm a nobody. I really am a nobody. Yesterday I was just an Abyssinian slave, and no one knew me. And today, because the thing he didn't chase was dunya, now dunya and praise and everything is chasing him. Everything is chasing him. So my brothers and sisters in Islam, let's leave with this message that if today I leave University of Michigan Dearborn, or if today I die, or if today I leave Michigan, will I be missed? What kind of legacy am I leaving behind? What am I doing for others that they will think about me when I leave? If I'm not doing enough, we have time. Every single moment of our life is an opportunity to change the narrative. Every day, every semester, every year is. So let's just make that our focus. And step by step, let's do something. That when we leave this world, people will miss us. People will cry about us. And 100 years later, when our names are mentioned in books, it will be as if when Imam Bukhari's name is mentioned, Imam Muslim's name is mentioned, Imam Shafi'i's name is mentioned, everybody just has to say Rahimahullah. When our name is mentioned, they will have to say Rahimahullah. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.